let's just hit the nail on the head and talk about something I get asked about all the time. Let's talk about GLP-1s. I want to talk about the physiology and the strategy around GLP-1s because GLP-1 medications are not magic, but they're not evil either. And what I think they've become thought of as shortcuts, and they're not, but they are actually super powerful, or they can be. Let me rephrase that. They can be super powerful metabolic levers. Now, that may surprise you that I say that, but I am here to tell you that after a number of years and a whole lot of research and a lot of other context and background that goes into this, I have come to change my mind about these GLP-1 medications if they are used correctly. So I think of them as a lever that you can pull in a system, in a structure. And we all know that levers can change systems. For example, if you pull a lever in a machine, you don't just move one tiny part, right? You shift the entire mechanism. If you adjust the thermostat in your home, which right now I'm a little hot, by the way, squirrel, you don't just warm up one room. If you turn the heat up a little bit, you change the entire environment. If you significantly suppress appetite in a midlife body, you don't just eat less, you alter a lot of other functions and aspects of that entire system. You change protein intake. Muscle signaling is altered. Blood sugar, insulin response is altered. Recovery is altered. Stress physiology is changed. So levers don't act in isolation. They change systems. And your midlife body is already in a huge, massive season of change. Hormones are shifting. Stress hits you differently. Your sleep is architectured differently. It changes, right? Your body's ability to rest and recover adjusts. So when you introduce a really powerful lever, whichever way you want to pronounce it, into that environment, you have to understand what it's doing and what it's not doing. So I am not anti-GLP-1. In fact, I would say I am the opposite of that. What I will say is I am anti unstructured intervention, the unstructured use of GLP-1s. And those two things are not the same. So let's get clear then on what these medications actually are designed to do. GLP-1 receptor agonists mimic a hormone that your body already produces. It is in this class of peptides that, and I'm not going to go into a science lesson here, but it is one in a class of peptides that actually synthetically triggers what should naturally be occurring or produced in your body. And GLP-1 receptor agonists mimic a hormone that your body already produces, okay? That hormone is involved in satiety signaling, the trigger that tells your body, gives your body the cue to know that you're satisfied when you've eaten. It is the hormone that's involved in how your gastric system empties and it slows it down. It is the hormone that is involved in insulin response in your body. It's involved in blood sugar stabilization. So when we say GLP-1 works, what we're really saying is that it amplifies satiety, makes you feel satisfied, and it improves glycemic control. And those things are real. That absolutely is a fact. So for women, especially those who've struggled with appetite dysregulation or you've had blood sugar swings, this GLP-1 use can feel life-changing. That is why this whole conversation started taking place in weight loss after we knew some of these mechanisms were used to help diabetics, right? So it can feel life-changing when your appetite that has been off the chain in the past and your blood sugar swings or your blood sugar instability can be helped to get back on track, get back in that lane where things feel normal, right? The constant mental chatter around food can also be quieted with the use of a GLP-1. Portion control becomes easier. Energy can feel steadier with the use of a GLP-1. Now, here's where we need some nuance, though. Not all GLP-1s are the same. Earlier compounds like the semaglutides, those primarily targeted the GLP-1 receptor. They suppress appetite and they improve glucose control. Newer compounds, like maybe you've heard of the tirzepatide, that acts on more than one receptor. That can change how insulin signals respond, okay? It can influence your appetite in a different way. It can affect metabolic pathways in what feels like a more robust kind of way. And research in this area of GLP-1s, you guys, continues to evolve. What I'm telling you on this episode could very well be out of date by next week, next month, because this is a very live and organic area of research. We're learning more and more and more every day. It is unreal how much more I know now than I did even a couple of months ago. What I can tell you is these compounds, they are not interchangeable. For example, what I mean by that, semaglutide is not the same as tirzepatide, and the newer multi-receptor agents that are coming out and available on a more narrow way, and I can talk about that later, but these newer multi-receptor agents, they're not like earlier versions of the earlier generations, the semaglutides and the tirzepatides. They're even different from those. And the receptor profile of GLP-1s matters a lot. Dosing matters a lot. The changing or the escalation or de-escalation schedule of dosing matters a lot. For example, more is not always better. So much research has proven that. And that's one of the most common things I see when women come to me who have been on a GLP-1 or are on a GLP-1 or want to talk to me about the GLP-1 use. What their understanding is, because they've gone to a clinic or a spa, or there's a variety of different places that have been prescribing these medications, the meds always just continue to titrate up. And that is one of the biggest red flags and indicators to me when I'm talking to women about how where they are getting their GLP-1s before they come to me. Those people are not educated in the newest research and understanding thoroughly how to dose and how dosing matters in individual cases. So most women I talk to, they're not being educated about any of these things. They're being put on a standard protocol, which is the only protocol that clinic or doctor or prescriber, whatever it is, uses, and uses the same standard protocol for every woman that walks in there because it works, air quotes, for weight loss. But weight loss, and hear me loud and clear, I cannot emphasize this enough, weight loss and metabolic precision and optimization are not automatically the same goal. And that distinction matters so much. Now, let's kind of shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about muscle, or gets super confusing to people, or it's just ignored in some conversations when we talk about GLP-1s. Midlife women are already at a huge increased risk of muscle decline. You will naturally lose muscle as you age year over year. That's just what happens. After 40, it is imperative that muscle be actively preserved. We can no longer run around like we're 20 and just maintain the same muscle mass doing nothing year after year. It doesn't work that way. After 40, it is vital that you work to preserve muscle on your body. And not muscle because of the aesthetic, not because of just how it looks, but muscle is metabolically vital. It is the currency that your metabolism runs on. Muscle protects insulin sensitivity. It protects your resting metabolic rate. So that is, think about like just the calories you burn while you're sitting on your butt at your computer or watching TV. That when you're at rest, your body still burns calories. Well, muscle protects that metabolic rate. Muscle protects your bones, right? How many of us have had female family members or friends of family members who have fallen and broken a wrist or broken a hip, right? As they've gotten older, you hear your bones get more brittle. Well, muscle protects those bones. Muscle also protects your ability to be active and resilient as you age as a woman. So if your appetite drops significantly while you're using a GLP-1, your protein intake will drop with it as well. And if resistance training, for example, isn't structured properly as a part of this entire system, then muscle loss can, and I dare say, will occur. And when muscle declines, your metabolic rate declines. You see the scale go down, but the amount of muscle mass that you're losing is a big part of why that scale drop happens. Think about all the people you have seen who have gone on a GLP-1. And we've heard of I'm not going to say the brand name, but we've heard of O-Face, right? That phrase and that name came to be because women were losing so much muscle, their face was getting really gaunt. You've seen the gangly looking actresses that have gone on GLP-1s and haven't had a structure in place. And so they've massively lost muscle, especially if we're talking about celebrities who we know who are in their 50s or beyond who have used a GLP-1. The thing that we have this favorite thing of doing, these days, in the last couple of years, we see someone on TV and we go, oh, she's on the shot. She's on the shot. It's like you can just identify women immediately who are on the shot. Well, what that tip off is because their muscle mass has declined so drastically and oftentimes in a short period of time that it's like wearing a sign that, I'm using the shot, I'm taking the shot. So if muscle is declining with the weight loss, you're losing muscle mass, and that's a big part of why you're, part of the weight that you're losing, then you're trading short-term weight change for long-term metabolic capacity. And that's not a good thing. If it's not coming across clearly enough, that is not a good thing. That is not a healthy thing. Now, that's not an anti-GLP-1 statement at all. I'm going to explain that even more, but I want you to know this is not all about me. I'm not telling you these things because I'm anti-GLP-1. I'm anti using it as a weight loss tool without the system and structure in place to use it appropriately as an intervention. So when I say you do not want to trade short-term weight change for long-term metabolic capacity, that's not about being anti-GLP-1. That's about physiology. And here's the part that most women don't hear. Losing weight and protecting your metabolism are not automatically the same outcome. They require intention. They require precision. What does a GLP-1 do? And what does it not do? Let me go into a little more detail. GLP-1 suppress appetite. Absolutely, they do. But they do not automatically protect muscle. Like I said, they do not automatically create a metabolism that's flexible. They don't create a situation where your stress signaling gets repaired. They don't fix your sleep. They do not build strength. In fact, they can take it away from you if not used properly. And they do not create an exit strategy, meaning they do not teach you or create a situation where you can go off of a GLP-1 without gaining the weight back. If a woman uses a GLP-1 purely as an appetite suppressant with the goal of losing weight, and she does it without restructuring her metabolic environment, when she stops using that GLP-1, the appetite returns. It doesn't magically fix your appetite. It suppresses it, meaning it squashes it. It keeps the signal, I'm hungry, from going to your brain. So when you stop using the GLP-1, the appetite comes right back. And if muscle was lost during that time, then your metabolic rate lowers. Your metabolic rate lowers. So you could be and most women are, in a worse metabolic situation when you come off of the medication after losing the weight than you were going into the situation. If no foundational strength was built during that time, the rebound risk is huge. And it's even more than just your average rebound risk, meaning you gain the weight back, your risk of gaining the weight back. And it's not because the GLP-1, the tool itself, failed. It was because there was never a system created that you are part of for rebuild. The system was never rebuilt. The metabolic environment was never improved. A GLP-1 can create space for that to happen, but if you don't use that space strategically to build muscle, stabilize your protein intake at the right level, which is not the same for everyone, to improve recovery, to get your metabolism functioning properly, then you have not leveraged the opportunity in the space that the GLP-1 created for you. All you've done is suppress the symptoms like appetite, maybe balanced blood sugar during the time that you were taking it, but you've suppressed symptoms that are going to come right back after you use them. So let's talk about tool versus system. All right. There are two primary ways to use a GLP-1. One is use it as a weight loss tool. And we've seen tons and tons of people do that. You've probably had lots and lots of friends do that. Maybe you've even done that. And that's not a criticism. This conversation is to help inform you, because I am getting so many more questions about GLP-1s, and so many more women are scheduling calls with me who are considering them, or who are using them and they're scared, or they have used them and they've realized that they didn't have the structures in place to use them properly. So there are two ways to use it. One is as a weight loss tool, or you can use it as a metabolic leverage tool. The first one, using it as a weight loss tool, that's passive. That's just suppressing your appetite, getting the weight off. The second way of using it as a metabolic leverage tool is strategic, or it can be strategic. And what do I mean by that? What does that look like? That means you have an entire comprehensive system in place as you're using the tool to help you with suppressing the appetite, cutting back the food noise, helping to stabilize blood sugar. You are getting things in place like protein targets. And what does that mean for you? And how do you even do that? You're getting systems in place for movement, for metabolic resistance training. You're getting your muscle monitored and preserved and built. You're getting your blood sugar tracked so that you know what's happening with it. You're getting your dosing actually thoughtfully monitored, not just incrementally increased every other week or once a month. You're getting thoughtful, individualized, strategic dosing information and advice. And you're getting a plan for exiting the use of that GLP-1. So using the GLP-1 as a metabolic leverage opportunity in midlife especially, requires a lot more layered thinking. than what women are telling me is happening when they're given this tool. And there's no reason to panic in this. There's no reason to be ashamed about this, but definitely don't put yourself in a position where you're just casually experimenting with something that can have negative consequences now and definitely in the long term. You want to make sure if you're going to use it, you want to make sure that you're doing it in a way that it becomes a layer of intervention. It is an extremely powerful tool inside a pretty fragile system that can create instability. It can also be a really powerful tool inside a very structured system that creates leverage. And the difference between those two situations is everything, absolutely everything. So if you are on a semaglutide or on a tirzepatide, or if you're considering the use of a GLP-1, the question is not, does a GLP-1 work? The question is it being used or is it going to be used inside a comprehensive system that protects me and that protects my health and improves my health? Because it absolutely can be in that kind of comprehensive environment. It can protect your health and improve your health if it's used properly as part of a system that you leverage all the benefits that can come from it. It can be an amazing opportunity for you to change your life, your body, and your health. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. Midlife doesn't punish effort. It really doesn't. And I applaud effort. I applaud the questioning. I applaud the conversations. I applaud you for having the conversations around this tool. It's not your effort that's being punished. Midlife punishes unstructured, uninformed, and I dare say reckless intervention. And that recklessness is what I so often see and what I hear when I talk to women, not because they're being reckless, but because they want so desperately to solve this problem that when they are given a GLP-1 by a provider, they're trusting that all they've got to do is take the shot. And that to me is reckless. That is reckless distribution of something that can be a really powerful change agent in our lives. Powerful tools deserve strategic use. And you, as a midlife woman, deserve to use a tool strategically, be informed, be guided, be monitored, and be educated so that this tool can be leveraged for lasting change, not just on the scale, but with your health for the long term. If this conversation raised any questions for you about either the compound that you're on or if the dose that you're using may be, whether using one of these compounds is appropriate in your situation for your physiology, please don't hesitate to reach out. It is a fascinating area that I have spent a very long time and continue to spend a lot of time in researching and getting educated on so that I can help to monitor these situations, women using them. And I think they are truly the next generation, the next level of care, particularly in midlife, with obesity situations, and with the next phase of life. They are a powerful, powerful tool, and it is already changing how we approach weight loss, how we approach next phase of life health. And for women, I think it's really important and it's exciting to me to be able to share the information, to be able to incorporate this in my programming with coaching. I incorporate all of this type of education with women, and I'm super stoked to talk about it. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm happy to have the conversation with you because GLP-1s are not bad. They're not bad. But midlife women, we deserve informed, comprehensive conversations about the choices that we're making with our body. So I welcome the conversation. All right. So thank you so much. I know this is a little bit longer than a typical episode. I appreciate you hanging in here with me, but I really felt that it was necessary to share this information with you. Like I said, I have get so many questions. I have so many conversations. And as my coaching has evolved and in incorporating the use of these compounds and incorporating the monitoring of these compounds, because so many women come to me already on them, so many women want to be on them, that I thought it was just important. It was time for us to have an open conversation about it. If you have any questions, like I said, reach out to me. I appreciate you being here and spending time with me, and I'll meet you right back here next time.